Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors unless with a view to some mutual benefit. Be always thinking of something useful. Remember how soon everything is forgotten. Marcus Aurelius. There is a strange truth about time that many of us ignore until we are deep into our lives. The present moment is all we ever truly possess. The Stoics knew this intimately. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor-philosopher, wrote to himself reminders that sound like they were written for us today. Stop being distracted. Stop complaining. Don't let your emotions dictate your responses. Be here, now. Why do we resist this truth? Because the present is uncomfortable. It demands presence. It asks us to stop hiding behind regret or worry, to stop replaying past failures or scripting imaginary victories. It demands courage, the courage to face reality without illusions. When Seneca wrote that life is long if you know how to use it, he wasn't suggesting that we cram every moment with frantic activity. He meant that we must be deliberate, that every moment wasted on resentment, gossip, distraction, or fear is a theft from ourselves. So ask yourself, how many moments today have you truly lived? Not merely survived, not endured while thinking of something else, but lived, fully awake, aware, present. A Stoic practice, the pause. A powerful Stoic exercise is the pause. When you are angry, pause. When you are anxious, pause. When you are tempted to speak without thinking, to act without principle, pause. This pause is not hesitation. It is awareness. It is self-mastery. It is the seed of wisdom. Think of Epictetus's advice. It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about them. The pause allows us to question our judgments before we let them shape our behavior. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the observer, the captain of your soul, and that role is claimed in the present moment, not in some vague future where you'll finally get your life together. Reflection. Memento mori. The Stoics did not meditate on death to be morbid. They meditated on death to be more alive. Memento mori, remember you must die, is not a grim warning, but a call to wake up, to stop postponing peace, purpose, and presence until some perfect tomorrow. That tomorrow is not guaranteed. You don't need more time. You need more intention. You need clarity. You need a reason to rise and meet each moment as a sacred opportunity, not an obstacle. So let this truth pierce through the fog of your habits. Your time is finite, and you are free. Free to choose calm over chaos. Free to choose virtue over reaction. Free to begin right now to live like you mean it. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. You may think freedom means doing whatever you want, whenever you want. But the Stoics teach us something counterintuitive. Real freedom begins with discipline. It's easy to follow every impulse. Easy to say, I'll start tomorrow. Easy to blame other people, the economy, the weather, your past, your parents. But easy is rarely meaningful. Look around. Many people live as slaves to their appetites, their screens, their anger, their fear. They chase dopamine, not peace. They avoid discomfort, but never find rest. Epictetus, born into slavery, knew more about hardship than most. Yet he taught that the only true freedom lies within. In mastering your thoughts, habits, and desires, in choosing how you respond when life doesn't go your way, and life often won't. Discipline of the mind. The first battlefield is always the mind. You are not required to believe every thought you think. You are not your doubts. You are not your self-criticism. You are the one who can step back and decide, is this thought useful? Is this belief helping me live virtuously? Train your mind like a muscle. When it wanders into complaint or comparison, bring it back. When it reaches for the easy route, bring it back. When it starts to panic or spiral or judge, pause, intervene. Remember, you were not born to drift. You were born to steer. Discipline of action. Virtue is not just a theory, it's a practice. The Stoics believe that excellence is not some rare quality gifted to the chosen few. It's the result of small, deliberate, often boring choices repeated with integrity. Wake up early, do the work, don't overindulge, speak less, mean more, show up on time, hold your tongue when tempted to gossip, finish what you start, apologize when you are wrong, forgive quickly, expect hardship, and rise anyway. None of this is glamorous, but it's all heroic. You don't need to wait until you feel motivated. Start where you are. Start tired. Start busy. Start afraid, but start. As Seneca said, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. The cost of indiscipline. There is a silent pain that comes from avoiding your responsibilities, a guilt that builds when you break promises to yourself, a weight of regret that grows heavier each time you choose comfort over courage. That is the hidden cost of indiscipline, not just in your habits, but in your character. So if you feel out of control, if you feel stuck or unfulfilled, ask yourself, where have I let go of the wheel? Where have I outsourced my power? You don't need to conquer the world. You need to conquer yourself, your habits, your distractions, your excuses. That is how you become free. The obstacle is the way. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. You're going to face resistance. That's not a question. It's a guarantee. Life throws curveballs. You'll be misunderstood. You'll be rejected. You'll fail publicly. You'll lose what you thought you couldn't live without. So what will you do then? The Stoics taught that we are not victims of fate. We are sculptors of our response. And not just in a passive, enduring way, but in a transformative one. That thing that seems to be blocking your path? It is the path. This is not just philosophy. It's strategy. When something goes wrong, most people despair. Stoics get to work, turn trials into teachers. You've been hurt? Good. Now you know how deep your wounds go and how strong your healing can be. You've been overlooked? Good. You've been given space to sharpen your edge in silence. You've been fired, abandoned, embarrassed, knocked down. Good. Here is your chance to rise again, not just as you were, but better. The Stoics didn't ask for hardship, but they welcomed what hardship revealed. They didn't just survive storms, they used them to become seaworthy. Life doesn't test you to see you suffer. It tests you to see what you'll do with the fire. So next time you're stuck, frustrated, or afraid, ask like a Stoic, what is this here to teach me? What can I do with this? How can I move forward, not around, but through? Control and letting go. Stoicism is not about blind optimism, it's about clarity. There are things you can control, your attitude, your choices, your effort. There are things you cannot, the past, other people, chance, timing. You waste your power when you focus on what is outside your hands, but you unlock greatness when you focus on what's within them. The Stoic response to crisis is not denial, it is engagement. Something went wrong. Don't wish it were different. Make it different. As Epictetus said, don't seek for events to happen as you wish them, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and your life will flow smoothly. This doesn't mean resignation. It means alignment. Acceptance first, then action. Adversity builds character. You don't grow in ease. You grow in resistance. Character is forged under pressure. Think about your heroes. Think about anyone you respect. Did they have it easy? No, they were formed in fire. You want strength? Then don't avoid struggle. Embrace it. Walk into the hard things, not because they're fun, but because they're worth it. You are not here to live a life of avoidance. You are here to live a life of excellence. And excellence is never found in comfort. If you seek tranquility, do less. Or more accurately, do what's essential. Do less, better. Marcus Aurelius. The Stoics believed in a radical idea that external success is meaningless without internal virtue, that no amount of money, power, or applause could compare to the strength of a good soul. Virtue, not luck, not fame, not outcomes, was the Stoic definition of success. But what is virtue? To the Stoics, virtue meant living in alignment with four guiding principles: wisdom, choosing with clarity, courage, doing what's right, even when it's hard, justice, treating others fairly, without bias or vengeance, temperance, exercising self-control, moderation, and discipline. These aren't abstract ideals. They are practical tools for everyday life. You don't need to win every battle, but you do need to act with honor. You don't need to control what others do, but you can control whether you speak truthfully, whether you do your job well, whether you act from fear or from strength. That is Stoic power. Not control over others, but command over yourself. Reputation versus reality. So much of modern life is spent curating an image, our social media, our resumes, our brands. But what does it matter if you look successful and feel hollow? If people admire the mask but don't know the person? Seneca said it plainly. What is the good of having countless books in libraries whose titles the owner can scarcely read? A student is burdened, not helped, by the mass of books. Swap books for distractions, titles, possessions. The message is the same. You don't need more. You need depth. You need clarity. You need to live like you mean it. So ask yourself, am I acting to impress, or am I acting to improve? Am I living for applause, or for alignment with what's right? Because your reputation will rise and fall with the moods of the crowd, but your character, that's yours forever. Virtue in action. You don't need to talk about virtue. You need to live it. Help someone without needing to be thanked. Stand up for someone when it's unpopular. Tell the truth even when it costs you. Forgive someone, not because they deserve it, but because you refuse to let bitterness own you. Do the right thing when no one is watching. That is Stoicism in motion. Virtue is not found in words, but in actions, habits, choices. It's not grand gestures. It's the decision to do your best in every small moment. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be principled and persistent. When you align with virtue, something powerful happens. Your life becomes simpler. You no longer chase hollow goals. You no longer fear the crowd's judgment. You no longer flinch at failure because you know who you are. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, if it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. That's it. That's the compass. Follow it, and you will not get lost. Rehearse them in your mind. Exile, torture, war, shipwreck. All the terms of our human lot should be before our eyes. Seneca. The Stoics did not pretend life was easy. They didn't expect it to be fair. In fact, they actively trained for difficulty before it arrived. Why? Because if you only expect sunshine, even a cloud will break you. But if you prepare for storms, you become unshakable. This is the heart of premeditatio malorum, to mentally rehearse what could go wrong, not out of paranoia, but out of strength. Imagine losing your job, your reputation, your health. Imagine being betrayed, insulted, misunderstood. Imagine your plans failing. Now ask, if that happened, could I handle it? What would I do? Who would I be then? This isn't pessimism. This is power. You are rehearsing reality so that when it shows up, and it will, you're not destroyed. You're ready. Expecting trouble is not weakness. Most people don't want to think about pain. They try to stay positive. They say, let's not go there. But the Stoic says, let's go there, so we're not blindsided. Epictetus put it sharply. You may not control the events, but you can control how you respond. And if you've rehearsed wisely, you'll never be surprised. This mental preparation makes you grateful for what you have and resilient when it's taken away. If you've imagined losing something, you cherish it more while it's here. You're not entitled. You're not complacent. You're awake. The armor of the mind. The soldier trains for war so he doesn't panic when the battle begins. The Stoic trains for hardship so she doesn't collapse when life turns hard. You must do the same. Each morning, ask, what might test me today? What unexpected thing could go wrong? How can I prepare now, in advance, to meet it with calm and courage? This isn't about living in fear. It's about building mental armor. So when the deal falls through, you're calm. When someone criticizes you unfairly, you don't flinch. When illness strikes, you face it like a warrior, not a victim. Pain becomes information. Setbacks become detours. Adversity becomes a test you've already practiced for. You've built the inner fortress. You are ready. Today is enough. Negative visualization also anchors us to the present. When you imagine loss, you realize how precious today is. You stop taking things for granted. You love more freely. You act with urgency. You speak truth now, because you may not get another chance. Seneca wrote, "He robs present ills of their power who has prepared himself for their coming." So don't wait for disaster to test your character. Train your mind now. Fortify your soul. And when the moment comes, not if, but when, you'll stand ready, not rattled. It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Epictetus. The world will tempt you to believe you're special. Too special to fail, too special to be criticized, too special to start small or struggle or wait. That's ego talking. And the Stoics knew that ego is a silent assassin. It flatters, inflates, distracts, and ultimately it destroys. You may not always see it coming. Ego doesn't wear a crown. It hides in subtle habits, talking more than you listen, seeking validation over truth, refusing feedback, avoiding what humbles you. The moment you think, "I've made it," beware. The moment you reject criticism, coast on talent, or start comparing yourself to others, be alert. You're drifting off the path. Humility is power in disguise. True Stoic strength is built on humility, not self-loathing, not false modesty, but honest clarity. To say, "I don't know," is strength. To admit, "I was wrong," is rare courage. To begin again, quietly, after a failure, that is greatness. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of the most powerful empire on earth, wrote in his private journal, "You are just a soul carrying a corpse." Not exactly an ego trip. He reminded himself daily that fame fades, praise is meaningless, and no title exempts you from death. This wasn't nihilism. It was clarity. Clarity that helped him lead with focus, with justice, without delusion. Stay a student. The Stoic is always a beginner, no matter how far along the path they are. Because the moment you stop learning, the moment you think you're above others or immune to error, you're slipping. Seneca wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." This means ask questions, even when it feels awkward. Read deeply, not to impress, but to improve. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, not just those who praise you. Find value in humility, in sweeping the floor, starting from scratch, being the least important person in the room. Ego says, "I already know." Humility says, "Teach me more." Which voice do you follow? Glory is a distraction. It's tempting to chase status, followers, promotions, applause. But every minute spent chasing the world's approval is a minute stolen from your own growth. You don't need to look important. You need to become unshakable. Don't build your life on attention. Build it on virtue, discipline, and truth. These are invisible at first, but indestructible in the end. And if the world never sees your greatness, so be it. You weren't put here to impress. You were put here to serve, improve, endure, and leave things better than you found them. That's what the Stoic understands. It's not about how loudly you move, but how deeply. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. Epictetus. Gratitude is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing that you have more than enough to begin living well right now. We've been conditioned to chase status, money, comfort, admiration. But the Stoics flipped the script. They didn't say, "You'll be happy when," they said, "You can be happy now if you learn to value what you already have." We are often blind to our blessings because we assume they're permanent. But nothing is. Not your health, not your relationships, not your talents, not even your breath. So pause and ask, what if I lost what I take for granted today? What if this was the best it ever gets? Would I be grateful? The Stoic doesn't ignore life's imperfections, but they refuse to be ungrateful. Desire is a treadmill. The more you chase, the more you crave. Each new possession or achievement brings only momentary satisfaction before your mind shifts to the next thing. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Gratitude breaks that cycle. Gratitude says, "Enough," not because you're giving up, but because you're waking up. You're learning to want what you already have. You're seeing clearly. The Stoics didn't want to be owned by their desires. They wanted to be free. And freedom means detaching your happiness from external outcomes. You don't control what fortune brings, but you can control your response to it. Simple pleasures, lasting peace. Gratitude isn't just about mindset, it's about slowing down. There's beauty in a quiet meal, in a walk without your phone, in a sincere thank you, in noticing your breath, in watching the sun rise without needing to post about it. The Stoics found joy in simplicity, not because they lacked ambition, but because they understood the fickleness of fortune. What lasts isn't luxury, it's presence. What nourishes isn't indulgence, it's awareness. Try it. For one day, want less. Complain less, compare less, just appreciate the ordinary. You'll feel something rare, enoughness. A Stoic gratitude practice. Each morning or evening, ask yourself, what am I lucky to have? What do I take for granted? Who do I need to thank, silently or out loud? If I lost this tomorrow, how would I feel? This isn't about ignoring pain or pretending everything's fine. It's about balancing the scales, seeing the full picture, honoring the fact that in many ways you are already rich, in breath, in time, in opportunity. So don't wait for more. Don't postpone contentment. You have enough. You are enough if you choose to see it. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Epictetus. The Stoics often wrote about living in accordance with nature. At first glance, this might sound like a call to run off into the woods, but that's not what they meant. For them, nature wasn't just trees and rivers, it was truth, order, and design. To live according to nature is to live in alignment with your highest self, with reason, virtue, and purpose. You were not made to drift. You were not made to consume endlessly, argue pointlessly, or chase empty victories. You were made to think, to choose, to serve, to grow. That is your nature. And when you ignore it, you suffer. Know your nature. What is within your control? Your choices, your character, your effort. What is not? Outcomes, opinions, circumstances. Living according to nature means focusing on your function, like a hand that's made to grasp or an eye that's made to see. You are made to live with excellence, not excuses. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What is your profession? To be a good person." Everything else, your job, your status, your title, is secondary. If you compromise your integrity to get ahead, you're off the path. If you betray your values to impress others, you're off the path. You're here to act justly, to endure with grace, to think clearly, to contribute meaningfully. That is who you are beneath the noise. Harmony, not perfection. Living in alignment does not mean living without struggle. Even nature has storms. Even the oak tree is bent by the wind. The Stoics did not demand perfection, only direction. When you fall short, don't collapse. Realign. When you feel lost, ask, am I living in harmony with my own nature? Or am I being pulled by ego, impulse, or fear? This self-check becomes your compass. You may not always know the next 10 steps, but you always know the next right step. Take that one. Resist the unnatural. Much of modern life pushes you away from your nature. You're encouraged to perform instead of reflect, to overconsume instead of create, to judge others instead of develop yourself. But you don't have to follow that script. The Stoic refuses to be shaped by trends. They refuse to act against their conscience. They refuse to betray their reason for a moment of pleasure. You are not here to be distracted. You are here to become who you're capable of being. And that journey isn't glamorous. It's quiet. It's daily. It's full of small, courageous choices no one will ever see, but it is yours. And no one can walk it for you. A life in flow. When you live according to nature, you feel a sense of flow, a deep inner calm. Even when things go wrong, you are anchored. You know who you are. You know what matters. You're no longer pulled by every external force. You become like a tree, flexible in the wind, but rooted in place. The world may roar. Your path may twist, but if you stay aligned with your principles, with your reason, with your purpose, you will not fall. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Marcus Aurelius. The words memento mori, remember death, might sound bleak, but the Stoics didn't reflect on death to dwell in darkness. They did it to awaken themselves. Because when you remember that your time is finite, your priorities become clear. You stop wasting days on things that don't matter. You stop holding grudges. You stop waiting for some future moment to start living with intention. You realize this moment matters. This conversation matters. This breath is a gift. The Stoics believed that a life lived with death in mind is more alive, not less. It is more urgent, more sincere, more free. Death is not a punishment, it's a law. You will die. so will I. So will everyone you know. It's not tragic. It's natural. It's part of the order of the universe. You are not being targeted. You are being included in the one universal truth that applies to all of life. Seneca said, "Death is not something to be feared, but something to be understood." We fear death because we think it's the end, but the Stoic sees it as a transition, a boundary, a reminder. You don't control when or how, only how well you live until then. Let that truth set you free. Live now, not later. We live as though we're promised endless time. We delay our dreams, our healing, our gratitude. We act like tomorrow is guaranteed. It isn't. The Stoics didn't say this to depress you. They said it to wake you up. Today is not preparation for life. It is your life. Ask yourself, if I died today, would I be proud of how I lived yesterday? If this were my last interaction with this person, how would I speak? Am I postponing joy, forgiveness, or meaning? For no good reason. The only life you have is the one you're in right now. You don't own the future. You only lease the present. Death teaches us to let go. When you carry death in your awareness, you learn how to let go of things. Pride, pettiness, false urgency. You realize how few things truly matter. The people you love, the purpose you serve, the peace you carry inside. Everything else, the ego, the status, the arguments, the comparisons, all dissolve in the face of mortality. You learn to forgive faster, to laugh more, to speak from the heart, to live lightly and deeply. You realize that death doesn't rob life of meaning. It gives it meaning. A Stoic practice. Reflect on mortality. Daily each day, whisper to yourself, I am mortal. I do not know how long I will live. Let me live well today. You don't need fear to motivate you. You need clarity. And death is the clearest mirror we have. It shows us what to hold on to and what to drop, what to say yes to, and what to stop tolerating. So remember death, and you will remember how to live. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. This is the invitation Stoicism offers, not to talk about wisdom or admire it from afar, but to live it. Each day, every moment, especially when it's hardest. Because Stoicism isn't something you believe in, it's something you do. When you wake up and resist the pull of laziness, that is Stoicism. When you speak with honesty instead of trying to impress, that is Stoicism. When you face adversity and say, this too can strengthen me, that is Stoicism. When you let go of what you can't control and focus on what you can, you're practicing the way of Zeno, Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus. It's not flashy, it's not easy, but it's real. The Stoic path asks only this: live with clarity, act with virtue, and meet life as it is, not as you wish it were. Live a philosophy, not a performance. In a world obsessed with aesthetics, image, and external success, the Stoic turns inward, not to withdraw, but to lead from within. This is not a life of withdrawal, it is a life of engagement with your own mind, your duties, your relationships, and your soul. A Stoic does not escape life. A Stoic enters it fully, but on their own terms. The world may tempt you to react, complain, compare, but your role is different. Your role is to respond with wisdom. This doesn't mean perfection. It means consistency. It means owning your mistakes. It means showing up each day and saying, I may not be able to control what happens, but I can control how I live, how I love, and how I carry myself. The morning, the midday, and the evening make Stoicism. Your rhythm. In the morning, reflect. Prepare your mind. Ask, what kind of person will I choose to be today? In the day's chaos, return to your training. Breathe, pause, choose virtue over impulse, courage over comfort. In the evening, review. Ask, did I live with integrity? Did I waste energy on the uncontrollable? What can I improve tomorrow? This daily rhythm grounds you. It teaches you to live on purpose, not by accident. You already have everything you need. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for more time, more knowledge, more motivation. Start now with what you have, with who you are. You have breath. You have choice. You have a mind that can reflect and a heart that can act. That's enough. Seneca reminded us, as long as you live, keep learning how to live. Not once, not in crisis, every day. You don't need a retreat in the mountains to be stoic. You need awareness in traffic, courage in discomfort, calm in the face of chaos, and love, yes, love, for the world and your fellow humans. This is not cold philosophy. This is warm strength. The Stoic path is yours to walk. So are you ready? Not to be fearless, but to walk forward despite fear. Not to be perfect, but to keep growing. Not to win, but to live honorably, every day, every moment, until your last. The Stoic doesn't live forever, but they live fully. Let that be you, right now, right here. Let today be the day you stop waiting, stop wavering, and start becoming the person you were born to be. To live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people exist. That is all. Oscar Wilde. But you, with stoic courage, can choose to live, not tomorrow, today.